Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another video. Being free of programming in the game. Being free of programming. Let's be real. Most men having trouble in the game of man gets women because they were programmed incorrectly. They were programmed from childbirth. Indeed, that's why you have many of these channels where men are complaining. You know, whether you call it red pill, black pill, whatever you want to call it. And, you know, even though I've had my criticisms of them, I understand why they would have what they have. And my only criticism is they acting like the shit is new. Seriously, that's my only criticism. People acting like, or they didn't have it. Like I've said before publicly several occasions, you grow up in certain places, you done seen all this before. But the programming is mainly what society says a man should do with a woman to get the woman. And if the program is basically, if you don't do this, you don't get a woman. Like if you don't take a woman out on a date and spend money on her and all of this, you can't get a woman. Yet you have people, men, getting the women without spending one penny on them, without taking them any place, you know, or even being a perfect gentleman. You get some guys, they can act however, and they still getting the women. But for when society says, oh, this is what you have to do, or when society tells you that you have to get married and that everything will be good, the woman will treat you a certain way. And let's just be clear. Yeah, there are some actually successful marriages out there, but that's a case by case basis. See, a lot of times what a man is told to do is to keep men compliant, to keep things going. But the guys find out the hard way, oh, it's not working. But that's programming. It's programming. Understand something. The culture and several forces are always programming us or trying to program us. And the only way you can really break free is if somebody just wakes you up or you grow up in an environment where there is less programming. Now, I've said publicly several times what people call like red pill and all of that. I was seeing as a child, but I was in a more impoverished environment where people didn't follow the rules anyway. If you grow, I'm gonna tell you what, that's why you get some people, if they maybe grow up in I'll just say in more less structured environments where they don't necessarily follow the rules, where teenage pregnancy is normal, where you have the lumpen proletariat, where you have people just in survival mode and they can't follow the norms of society. You see things a little bit differently. Basically, they've already broken, they didn't succumb to the programming. Indeed, some people will purposely get in those environments because it's not as programmed. But when you raise up and it's more steady, more middle class, or even just working class, where they need people to, you know, work every day, pay taxes, basically stay crime free. It's more programmed. They need to keep order. And when I say they, it's different forces. It could be religion, it could be government, it could be media, which is an arm of the corporations who need to sell their products. They need people to buy stuff. Like, let's keep it in the game. Much of the economy is based on man gets woman. So many things. And having family, having children. Because think about it. If you go to maybe a department store, they got the children's section. You got all the children's foods. You always have stuff to sell stuff to people with children. When you have a decline in the birth rate, that affects the economy. But in order to even get those children going, even get them here, well, couples have to come together. And then when you look at the holidays and everything is to keep order, keep things selling, and you need people to do it. Valentine's Day, that's a great example. That's an economic thing. Hershey's made up Valentine's Day to sell their products. Now guys got to buy stuff and then, you know, maybe buy some diamonds and everything. Like diamonds, let me use that for an example. Diamonds are only really useful for lasers. But how much money is spent on jewelry just to impress a woman? Money, 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 money. If you look at a lot of restaurants, a lot of like some fancy restaurants, you could probably get the same generally the same kind of food and probably more filling at some lesser place. But what is it about? Dating, impressing, everything. So much of the economy. If you look at even what's sold to women, like I said, I've worked in an department store before, and you got the makeup section, the shoes, everything. So much is predicated on just mating and keeping things going. So men, hey, part of it is men have to be willing to spend money, even more so than women, to keep things going. Now, being free of the programming, that gives you power. That gives you the choices. That says, well, you know what? If you like at that top select level, you don't even need the money. I know guys keep arguing about it, but that's part of their programming. You can still get the women without taking them out. You can still get the women without having to buy a bunch of gifts for them. But that's because they're free of the programming. They are free. But here's the most powerful thing about being free of the programming. You can deal authentically with a woman. You're not following a script. See, a lot of guys, men and women, are following a script. Society says, hey, you got to do this, this, and this. Okay. But then how many men and women have followed that script and they haven't, and they're not happy? In fact, that's a problem out here now. The script is starting to break down. There's changes. Like many women aren't as quick to get married now. Many women rather chase Mr. Goodbar because they got all their money. So it's like, oh, okay, it's different. But then because of that programming, and so many men programmed by, well, I got to find that good woman, you know, get married, all of that, and they not finding it, it's actually hurting them psychologically. They feel like, hey, something is wrong, you know? And, you know, and that programming goes on along in so many ways. You know, it's like, oh, well, you know, you can only like deal with a woman in this age group or even deal with a woman of that race, you know, particular race. That's part of programming too. It's from the outside, but it's not according. When you're free of it, you can do what's in your best interest. Let me say it again. You can do what's in your best interest. You're not doing stuff to satisfy what society says you should have. And that's very important. That's very important because when you're free of it, then you actually can have real happiness because you following along on your path. It's a path of sovereignty, you know, and you're happy with it. Because let's be real, a lot of men and women for that matter, they're not happy because they're not matching what society says they should have. Instead of saying, look, this is what I want. See, that's when you're free, you can do what you want. If you want to get married, you're only doing so because you want to. If you want to have children, you're only doing it because you want to. Not because society says you should have this and this. So many miserable people, they following along somebody else's agenda because that fulfills the they's agenda. You know? That fulfills the they's agenda. Like, you know, you might not want to have children. Ain't no shame in it. You might want to live a life you don't want kids. You got a bunch of like nieces and nephews. You good with that? There's no shame in that. You know, no shame in that. And even though I'm talking about programming in the game, it goes way beyond that. I have to address those issues on my Deep Thought channel. But it's something to think about because when you're free, then you have your own happiness. You're not following along. You're doing stuff strictly according to your will. You're living by your will. I want y'all to really think about that, being free of the programming, being free of it. And that's what you got to work towards. you always got to work towards that, you know, so you can do as you want to live. All right. So anyway, that's all I have for today. And I always say for today, but then I do a car video. But then I don't know if I'm gonna do a car video when I'm recording this. I'll just start saying, okay, that's it for this video. I'll get back with you. Peace and blessings.